practicing a lot, and I was practicing how to wear a lungi as well behind the screen. All of that is not done by me. All of that is done by this 18-year-old, 16-year-old kids who are...
Hello. Very good evening to all of you. Shri Prakash, Director, Shri Prakash Vidyaniketan, Mithilesh, Director, India International Movement of United Nations, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and my dear young friends. It is an honor for me to be present here with all of you and learn along with you, inculcate this great and worthy vision of India's movement to United Nations, and endeavor to discuss global and local issues and find solutions through an Indian perspective. This evening, I would like to reflect upon the values of the Indian civilization and its relevance to global peace and development. I want to talk about 7 values that the Indian civilization has cherished and nurtured over millennia, that are an indispensable part of our culture and have the potential to create global peace and sustainable development. The Indian civilization, with its continuity spanning over 5,000 years, is a mosaic of philosophical insights, cultural depth, and spiritual wisdom. The 7 values that I want to share with you today are ahimsa, non-violence; satya, which is truth; dharma, duty and righteousness; shanti, which is peace; samriddhi, which is prosperity; Vishwamitra, being a friend, philosopher, and a guide; and the Indian philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family. Firstly, let us consider ahimsa, the principle of non-violence, which goes beyond mere passive resistance, an active state of love, and a refusal to inflict injury on other people. In today's world, where violence manifests into a variety of forms, be it through physical conflict, economic coercion, environmental degradation, embracing ahimsa can lead to situations and solutions that promote harmony and sustainability rather than discord and exploitation. Secondly, satya, or truth, another cornerstone of Indian ethos. In an age dominated by misinformation and fake news, the commitment to be true is more relevant than ever before. It is not just about truthfulness in words, but also about being true to our responsibilities towards each other as global citizens. Integrity in action and transparency in governance can bridge many divides that ail our society today. Third, dharma, or righteousness, which calls upon an individual to perform their duties with a sense of moral purpose, in doing what is right, not because of the fear of law, but because of the inherent moral call. The context of global leadership, if this translates into policies and actions that prioritize the welfare of people on the planet beyond narrow, short-sighted gains. Fourth is shanti, or peace. The Indian civilization, through its philosophical texts, practice, promote the idea of inner peace leading to outer peace. It teaches us that true peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice, good health, harmony with nature. The holistic approach is crucial, and we address global challenges like climate change, social inequality, and a health crisis. Fifth is samriddhi or prosperity. The Indian context is not limited to material wealth. It encompasses the richness of spirit, the wealth of culture, the prosperity of communities which we live in harmony. Sixth is the idea of being a Vishwamitra, being a friend, philosopher, and guide, who shares knowledge, the wisdom, and ethical guidance on a global scale, such as sharing the practices of yoga and Ayurveda. Finally, seventh is the Indian philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, translating into the world is one family, which profoundly encapsulates their sense of global interdependence and communal harmony. So, while we reflect upon the strength of Indian values, it is also important to think about the strength of other nations and other civilizations. We live in a post-colonial world, and we have been in a post-colonial world for the past 77 years. But now, with our increasing stature in the nations, as our stature increases, surprisingly so, does sometimes our sensitivity increase. So this is my message to all of you, to all you young people. This is my message. Don't be a racist. Don't be xenophobic. Don't be parochial. Don't be classist. Be receptive to the ideas of the world. And there is no reason for you to be otherwise. We are the inheritors of the richest civilization in the world. As a military officer who has studied war much of my adult life, I can tell you that the greatest failing of human civilization is that war is often, if not always, the result of our inabilities to appreciate other civilization and recognize our civilizational differences. In Christopher Nolan's blockbuster movie Oppenheimer, how many have seen Oppenheimer? Not bad, not good, good, quite a few. So in Oppenheimer, Robert Oppenheimer, while looking at the exploding fireball from the atomic bomb explosion at Las Alamos, New Mexico on July the 16th, 1945, later said that his conscience took refuge in the words of the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I become death, the destroyer of the worlds." But this is not what the Bhagavad Gita says. The verse in reference is chapter 11, verse 32, in which, in my view, Lord Vishnu says, everyone in this battlefield is preordained to die. You are the instruments of my will. Italian filmmaker Vittorio Di Sacchi's movie, The Bicycle Thieves. So this is my point, that you can take an Indian idea and infuse it with Western thoughts, or vice versa. You can take a Western idea and infuse it with Indian thoughts and come out with something that is greater than the sum of its parts. The Navy has been very kind to me. It's given me brief opportunities to serve overseas. So let me tell you very quickly, very succinctly, what I have learned from the Americans, from the British, and the Mauritians. Has anybody been to Mauritius? It's a small island nation in the southern Indian Ocean, very small nation, and you can land at the airport at Plaisance in the southern tip of the country, and you can go to the northern tip of the country, which is Grambe, which is the tourist district, and you can travel if you speak any one of the following languages. You can take a bus, you can take a taxi. If you speak English, most widely spoken, of course, is French. If you speak Hindi, if you speak Creole, if you speak Bhojpuri, if you speak Gujarati, if you speak Marathi, you will get across Mauritius. And that is the great strength of Mauritian people, that they are linguists. And it is my greatest regret that in my short span of about 2 years, I could not adequately learn as much French as I would have loved to. For my experience as part of the diplomatic corps in the United Kingdoms, I experienced diplomatic protocol, the British sense of drama, history, humor, the importance of punctuality, civility, inclusivity, non-judgmental tolerance, in essence, etiquettes. Of course, that is not what the experience of any Indian was during the colonial age. The British, although they will not admit it, they are deeply embarrassed about the colonial age, about the imperial age, and which is evident from the fact that you can study history. A levels is what you call 12th class. 12th class equivalent, you can study history in the A level system in the United Kingdoms, and they don't talk about colonialism, they don't talk about the imperial age. For my sabbatical, I did a year when I was much older at the US Naval War College at Rhode Island, USA. I learned intellectual honesty, moral obligation, the politics of decision making, the importance of theory, the importance of both the argument and the counter argument, the relevance of history. In a sense, I learned critical thinking. So it is very likely that in our post-colonial sensitivities, we too must misunderstand many foreign concepts and many foreign ideas and attributes, just as parts of the Gita are lost in translation. Our misunderstanding of the British, they have a great spirit of entrepreneurship, and we like to dismiss them off as a nation of shopkeepers. Everybody dismisses the Americans off for their great sense of hubris about themselves. But for all their sense of hubris, they have a great sense of belonging to a union under a constitution. And if you are working on the Hill in Washington, each and every individual has a copy of the Constitution in his pocket or her pocket. That should be something for all of us to reflect upon. So there is much to be learned by the acceptance of others, and if we are to serve our nation well, as all of you will, into the future, it is very important for you to have a global outlook. So this is my message to all of you here at the IIMUN endeavor. Treasure this opportunity. Treasure this opportunity. Keep learning. The Japanese have a philosophy of Kaizen, which is to make small daily improvements in your life every day. If you can make a 1% improvement in your life every day, and 1% is huge. If you can do a 1% improvement in your life every day, at the end of 1 year, you will be 37 times better than you are just now. So you are the citizens of a Viksit Bharat. It is essential for you to have garv on your virasat, pride in your civilizational history. Yet, this pride cannot be built on a racist, xenophobic attitude. It can only be inculcated if you are receptive to all the ideas from across the globe. As global citizens, we must embrace the diversity of all civilizations with an open mind and a loving heart. By listening and learning from one another, we will enrich the understanding of the world and foster empathy and respect that transcends borders. Let us celebrate our diversity and even our difficulties, stand together for justice and equality, build bridges of cooperation and understanding. Together we can create a future where respect, acceptance for unity prevails, where the world is more just and a more compassionate place. I wish you all the very best for your lives ahead. May the gods bless you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
I would just like to ask you about what is your stance on smart ports, and what changes would you like to bring in our naval ports or our normal Indian ports for the development of our country?
Smart ports.
Yes.
So that is the very, very important thing, and it's the most important thing. The whole economy of a nation floats on salt water. It floats on the ocean. 95% of trade by volume, and about somewhere between 70 to 90% by value is, moves on ships. which move across the oceans, which we call the global commons. So it's very important that the ship comes in, is turned around quickly so that it can deliver the cargo at the next port. Because for the ship owner, time is money, and for everybody, in fact, in life, the fact of the matter is that all of us have got 1,440 minutes in a day. That's the only thing that we've all got equal. So time is money, and you want to quickly turn up the ship around. You have to do the protocols of customs, of security. So therefore, smart ports are the most important thing for the country's economy to develop, as also, not the only important thing, because the stuff will come out of the ship, then it has to go onto the roads, then it goes by the trucks across the country. So, building roads, having infrastructure across the country, all of this is critically important for the country to grow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
You chose your career at a really young age, but in this generation, there are so many opportunities. So how do you know in which career we have to choose ourselves?
There are so many opportunities.
Like in this generation, we have a lot of opportunities to choose. So we get kind of confusion, like which one should we choose? Like for you, you choose in such a young age, you choose this career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got a question. So now, you guys are so lucky. So lucky, you got so many opportunities. Let me tell you that, when we were our age, we were a great disappointment on our parents. Why? Because there are only two things. Most middle class families wanted a child, ya to engineer bano, ya doctor bano. Engineer, doctor, engineer, doctor. If you're not engineer, doctor, you're a disappointment. So although my father was also from the Navy, my mother certainly, wanted me to do engineering. I had, of course, different interests. And I will almost say that it was a disappointment. Sit, beta, sit. And so I had a cousin. So she was in the same class, exceptionally bright girl, and she got medical. And there was like 1 million tons of pressure on me. Dekho, Anjali ko dekho. Kitni padhai karti hai? Medical mein aa gayi hai. What are you going to do? Today also, I'm not saying that your life is easier. But you have all the opportunities. If you want to pursue music, if you want to be a VJ, you want to be a DJ, you want to be an author, you want to act in the films, the sky is the limit. Certainly, you have, I'm not saying that you don't have parental pressure. You don't have parental pressure. Your parents also must be wanting something. And it is normal for any particularly Indian family to want to see their children settle down quickly. Because that is our sense of responsibility towards our children. In many Western countries, your parents will tell you that whatever it is, once you've done A levels, you are on your own, get out of the house. You're on your own. So because of that, your parents have their own paradigm and they want you to settle down quickly. But the world is your oyster. You can do whatever in any country of the world. So, how do you choose between all these many opportunities? I just say, follow your heart. Follow your heart, follow your intuition. Your intuition is a sacred gift that is given to you. It is a voice that is speaking inside you. You have to listen to that voice. You have to follow your dreams. If you don't follow the dreams, then you will be, trapped into mediocrity. So there's this great idea that there's, what they call a boiling frog syndrome. That if you take a frog and put a frog into boiling water, it will jump out. But if you take a frog and put it into normal tap water and slowly bring the water to boil, you will cook the frog alive. So many times what happens is that we are just going through life and we've got a job, that job is meeting our social obligations, is bringing in money. But we know, even in that movie, which is the movie, Three idiots. He wants to be a wildlife photographer. He wants to be a wildlife photographer, and he's never going to be happy unless he becomes a wildlife photographer. So follow your dreams, follow your intuition. Yes, you have responsibility to your parents, etc. And you'll have to balance all of that. Maybe sometimes you do the job that you have to do so that later you can do the job that you want to do. If you have many responsibilities at home, you need to settle down. Maybe you'll do something at that moment, and later you'll pursue whatever opportunities your heart has. About your second question, I'll be much shorter, about time management. There is nothing like time management. This is a useless idea, time management. The idea is priority management. If it is a priority for you, you will find the time. So define your goals, know what your goals are, know what you want to do. If it is a priority for you, you will do it. If you enjoy doing yoga, you will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do yoga. So define your priorities, know what you have to do. Everything, you cannot have a hedonistic lifestyle that you do only what you have brings you great joy. You have to do what you don't like also. But you have to allocate time for it, allocate your priorities for it, and then you'll have enough time for everything. So I just suggest to you to flip this idea in your mind, not talk about time management, although time management is important. And also along with time management is energy management. You have to have energy. If you're partying all night, you're not going to be able to get up for 5 o'clock in the morning for yoga. So it's energy management, it is priority management. I hope I have in part at least answered your question. Please sit. Have you a question from this side? Yeah.
Hello, sir. So I wanted to ask you that how is Indian Navy and diplomacy countering the China's dominance in the Indian Pacific Ocean?
In the Indian Ocean, yeah. So it's a great question. So the oceans are the common inheritance of everybody in the planet. That is why it is called global commons. It is a global common where ships can move from one country to another country across the oceans, which is for the benefit of economy, which we spoke about earlier, for the benefit of trade, and it is the common good for all of humanity. Right? So India has a very, very important place. The greatest gift from a maritime perspective which India has is a central geographic position in the center of the Indian Ocean. An ocean where most of the world's oil comes out of the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf. 50% of the world's container traffic moves through these waters. 70% of the world's bulk cargo moves through these waters. And we are sitting here astride the Indian Ocean in a very, very dominating way. And this is what the Indian Navy does. Make sure that the ocean is open for the legal and lawful pursuit of all nations of the world. And this is why our Prime Minister has this vision of Sagar with the security and growth for all in the region. The Indian Navy is always first to reach out in the event of any crisis. If it was in 2011, Operation Blossom, bringing out the Indians and other nationalities from Lebanon and Libya, and in the wake of the tsunami in 2004, providing succor across last year in response to the cyclone in Myanmar, in COVID, moving ships all over the world, bringing in oxygen, sharing the COVID vaccine. So Indian Navy, India in the center of the Indian Ocean, has a pivotal role to be a net security provider for the entire region, particularly the smaller countries in the Indian Ocean region. We believe in the freedom of navigation, the free flow of trade. So every ocean is connected to another ocean, And similarly, the Indian Ocean is connected to the South China Sea, where the Chinese have a more restrictive view of the movement of traffic within what they call the 10-dash line. And that is okay, that is their perspective, and we address the differences in our perspectives as and when we have to. But this is what the ocean does. It connects civilizations. All oceans are contiguous. Every ocean connects you to the next ocean, to the next country, to the next civilization. Thank you.
Namaste, sir. India has not only oceans but rivers. So, what's your opinion on keeping ports and rivers and making the earth like the rivers depth even more to make some ports so that industries can build around the oceans and India's GDP can also be developed?
Absolutely, a very brilliant idea, son. Absolutely, very brilliant idea. Because rivers, particularly in India and in Indian civilization, we worship our rivers. Every river we worship. And it is just regrettable that because, probably because we missed the industrial age and we are playing catch up, and the ecology of the rivers is really not what it should be. And great efforts have been made to clean the Ganga. There's a wonderful program on Doordarshan, you must watch it, of how they managed to clean the Ganga in great extent. And when the rivers are developed, first of all, it will give us peace and tranquility. Secondly, as you brought out, if you dredge the rivers, make inland waterway more accessible, it allows for greater movement of trade. So far, we only spoke about movement of trade up to the smart port. But after the ship comes to Haldia, can it go up the Ganges to anywhere far into the interiors? And what makes waterborne trade the preferred route, the preferred way of moving trade? Because it is cheap, it is eco-friendly, it is the amount of money that you spend for moving 1 ton of cargo via the sea route is much less than burning fossil fuel and moving it across the highways of the country. So it will be a great idea when more and more of our rivers can become navigable, the inland waterways can become navigable. It will be, there are already initiatives in this regard being undertaken by the government. Much more needs to be done to make our rivers, our riverfronts more pleasant and more sustainable. Thank you. We got one question far in the back. Some questions far in the back also. Who's got the mic? If the mic can go back, maybe. I think one from this side and one from that side then.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, I actually had a lot of confusion choosing my career. My father is an ex-Navy officer, and I've always been passionate about Navy right from my childhood. And I started believing one of the quotes. It says, practicality over passion.
Everything is important. All I say is that you will be very, very fortunate to do whatever you do if you have passion in it. And why I say passion? Passion is the most important thing in your work. You have to feel passionate in your work. If you feel passionate in your work, it won't feel like work at all. You will be able to deliver. The reality of your adult life is going to be that somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of your waking hours, while you are awake, 2/3 to 3/4 of this time, you are going to be at your work. The passion, the happiness that you derive from your work is going to define the kind of person that you are, the kind of self-esteem that you have, your self-image that you have, your happiness quotient that you have. This has got nothing to do with how much money you are going to make. Whatever money you make, your happiness, your passion is not going to be defined by having a bigger car, having more jewelry, wearing more expensive watches. It is going to be defined by doing something that it is more likely, I would say it's more likely to be defined by doing something that is aligned to your principles, doing something that is aligned to your passion, doing something in an environment where you respect the other people that you work with. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, God bless you, do well, enjoy yourself, the nation needs you. Just as the way the nation needs the Navy.
Thank you, sir.
You are lacking.
Yes.
You all have everything much more than us. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you. Can I think of anything that we had? I don't know. Maybe life was simpler, life was slower. You used to write letters to each other, you know. We used to write letters to each other, to our grandparents. Pujya Ammaji, Sadar Pranam. To your girlfriend. You used to write letters. And you used to receive letters, scented letters, beautiful ink, in lovely paper. So, now you are like one WhatsApp call away, one Snapchat away. So, I tell you, it's very important. You are all very young. They are slightly under the age group for this advice. But just remember this advice now and think about it later. 95% of your happiness in life will depend upon the work that you do and the person that you marry. So choose wisely. Okay? Don't mess it up. I told you first. ठीक है? So, in this fast age of Snapchat and WhatsApp and short reels and all, find time to find true love.
Considering sir is running tight on schedule and you have got the best life advices, next questions, sir will be joining us every time. So next time. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good evening. I'm very happy to see so many young people drawn into the system, drawn into this organization, and going into a very systematic procedure. Very nice. But my advice, whatever you take up very seriously. Whatever you do with dedication and sincerity. In the process of your involvement in this activity and subsequently presenting yourself, that matters a lot. That matters a lot. Sir was referring to the values, which is of very high importance. Friends, values are caught, they are not taught. If you have values, you can give it to somebody, otherwise no. It is a basic principle. So, as Sir said, try to imbibe those values, try to inculcate those values, exhibit those values so that others learn from you. It's a learning process. So first you inculcate them. Then only you can be a successful outcome, successful leader, successful debater, successful speaker, whatever you take up. In this process, you have the first thing is research work is suggested to you. Whatever role of an ambassador or a representative of a nation you are choosing or you are opted to, you need to do a lot of research. First of all, try to know what is your role. Then only you can present yourself. Don't take it easy. You have to do a lot of hard work in the primary stage of research and identifying the problem. But I call it as a challenge. Problems are not there, they are only challenges. So my advice is you identify the challenge. To know that, you should go in very deep into the traditions, customs, and way of life of a particular country, whatever country you are representing. And then you must have faith in three things, friends: debate, discussion, dialogue. These three will definitely solve any problem on the earth. If you have faith in that, you join the organization. This is my advice, not organizers. Unless you have faith in that, there is no use of continuing here. Debate and discussion means not expressing yourself, not talking of yourself, respecting, honoring the views of others, and presenting yourself. You cannot be a leader unless you listen. Maybe that's why we got 2 ears and 1 mouth, Mark Twain said. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, as said by Mark Twain. That's why unless you listen thoroughly, I don't call it opponent, but the other person, what is he saying? You understand, and then present yourself. Is it so easy to present yourself representing a country? You think it? It's not that easy. You have to work hard. You have to go into the details. You have to structure yourself, and you have to draft. Your writing skills are very, very important. You have to use appropriate and apt language, whether to speak or whether to draft your resolution. These are the qualities you need to develop. And we find so many leaders. Leaders, they are not born, they are shaped. Recently, we had the former Vice President of India, Sri Venkaiah Naidu garu, visiting here. I am very much younger to him, but I was watching him as the President of the Andhra University Union. Right from those days, he shaped himself, he structured himself, he improved himself, and he became a very good orator. He is a nice orator. You have to develop the skill of that oratory. Where do you get? You are so lucky, as Sir said, you have innumerable videos available about the great speakers. Take their videos, watch them, see them. Many people create emotional bond with their body language, with their gestures, with their movement on the dais, with their language, communication, contact with eye to eye. These are the qualities that are to be slowly developed. You can't get them all of a sudden. But you have to structure your success on that. And I thank you all for listening to me. And I thank Vasu particularly for inviting me. Thank you. God bless you.